Hi everyone, it's Deborah, and today I'm going to be using these gorgeous papers from 13 Arts. They're called In Bloom, and they come in a pack with 6 double-sided papers. So I thought I would just show you the papers first of all. So we've got beautiful grungy things, and in colour tones that I don't normally use. This orange is, there's lots of green, but the orange is not something I would normally use, and I bought them because I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. So, and then this one, which is kind of like pinky orangey roses, and on the back is a green. That's beautiful. And this here, and this has got little birds as well as the flowers, and the back is a yellow. Again, not a colour that I am normally using in my stash. And then this is like a pale sort of orange colour, and on the back of that one is this, which is way out of my comfort zone, I've got to tell you. And then the bees, which are just beautiful, and the back of that, which is kind of like brown and a very, very pale sort of green, soft blue green. And then here's the other one. It's got this yellowy, not quite as yellowy mustard as the other one, and then the back is sort of like a quite a bright green really, although it's grungy. So they're the 6 papers that I am working with, and I wanted to use them all in some sort of a journal. I think I had this idea that I wanted to make a long skinny journal. So I'm thinking that I'm going to make it probably 10 inches long and maybe 4.5 inches wide. So that would be 9 inches of this paper. And so I would have some pieces left over. And out of those, I'll be able to make pockets and tuck spots and a few other things. And the reason I wanted to make a long one and a long skinny one, I don't really have a reason, except I've just been thinking about it for a little while now and wondered how that would look and what it would be like to journal in. I have this thing where I like to make lists of things. So I thought a long skinny journal would be really good for making lists. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to gather a few other papers as well and put this together. I have cut the paper, this is the first one, and I've cut it down so that it is 9 inches long, and I'm going to make it 4.5 inches wide. So I'm scoring at the 4.5, and with this one I'm going to score at the 9 inches as well. And that's going to be the long skinny journal. I think that's going to look quite good actually, and that's sort of a size. If you have papers that are directional, in other words they need to be read or looked at in a certain way, like this one, then make sure you cut the piece off on the correct part. So this one as well, I think most of these are directional papers. There's writing on here. So if I'd cut it off the bottom, my writing would have been going sideways. And if that's what you want, then that's okay. But if it's not what you want, just be careful, because you'll need to be aware of the direction that the papers are travelling in. I'm just wondering, having folded this one with this flap in here, whether I might fold them all like that, because I can do different things with this. I can leave it in, put it down and make a pocket by putting a notch in here and having it on either side, or I could have it flapping out so you could write on here as well. And I could also do some other things with that. So I think I'm going to fold and score them all like that. And some of them, I think, because they are directional, I'm just checking which ones. I think they all are. Yeah, they've all got writing up a certain way. So I'm going to make the cut, the score. So how I've scored this at 4.5 and then 9. but I want this flap on this side of the journal, so I'm going to turn it around upside down and score it at 4.5 and then at 9, and that way when I fold that over, and this one as well, when I put these together, this is going to have it coming in on this side and this is going to have it coming in on that side. So it's going to balance it out a bit. The thickness won't all be on one side then. So I'm probably going to do it on alternate sides, I think. See how that goes. Now this is, I've got 6 papers. So I'm only going to have 6 pages, although I think I will add some more in to this particular group of papers as well. But if you didn't, you would only have 6 pages in this book, and that might be fine depending on what you want to use it for. But I think I'm going to add some more other papers in as well. And this one I'm going to do the flap on this side. Okay, I've got that upside down, so I'm going to do it at the 4.5 and 9. I'm now just checking which ones I've done on what side. So I've got 2 on this side. Oops, I dropped one. And I've got 1 that is on that side, 2, 3 on the right hand side. So this one needs to be on the left hand side. So I've got it upside down, so that's fine. And as I work through, I'll also use these pieces here. So these are the 6 pieces that came off the bottom of these 6 pages that I've used. I've got a few papers, different types of old papers that I own from journaling books and, you know, things like that. And I will cut those down in a moment. I've also got a couple of pieces of plain cardstock in this colour, because this works really well with these papers, and that's why I bought it. And I'm going to cut these down as well, so these will be the same. They'll be 4.5 by 9, and then the other one will be the same, only I'll be turning it the other way. But because these are non-directional, it doesn't matter which way I score them, but it does matter that I score it correctly. I went off a little bit there. Okay, 4.5 by 9. I'll fold one of them in like this, and then this one will go in like this. So one for the right, one for the left. I've pulled out a bunch of papers from some old books that I own. They're just, you know, books and things I've picked up at op shops. You can get quite a few nice things at op shops. They're not quite 8 inches wide, so I'm actually going to score them at the 4-inch mark. It wouldn't really matter where I scored them, but I'm choosing 4 inches in this instance. And then I will be folding that down. So when that sits here, it's not going to come to the edge, but it's going to give me lots of spots to make lists. And this is actually a double page, so I've just scored it all at once. And I might trim that edge off, so I've got a straight edge on there as well. The first thing will be to cut a notch out of this. So I'm just measuring at the 4.5 inch mark roughly, so I can cut my notch. So I do like to have a notch in my papers. And I also am going to ink that edge before I glue things down. And I'm going to ink the spine as well. Okay. Now just run some glue or tape or whatever adhesive you're using. I'm using glue, and that will stick down and become a pocket. So with this one, I don't know, I think I might leave it so that it doesn't, it comes out. In fact, I want one that's got an opening on the other side. So let me find one of those. This one. This one has the flaps on the right, so that's the journal, and that's the flap on the right there. And with this one, I think what I want to do, I just had an idea that I would put one of these skinny ones, I might cut it down more, because I'll create a little booklet in here as well. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I just thought of that. Is that I'm going to put a little booklet of papers in this side, so it will come over like that, but I will cut it down a bit more than what it is at the moment. So it needs to be cut down to 3 inches, because I've used 9 of the 12 in the booklet, and that's 3 inches left over. I may cut it a little bit less than 3 inches wide, because I want to hide it behind there, and that also is going to give plenty of room to write on. Yeah. In cutting that down, I've managed still to keep the red margins on that. That was just pure luck, but I like the red margins, so I'm glad that I managed to keep them on there. And I could use some waxed thread and bind that, but I'm going to go and sew it because it's a bit easier just to sew the whole thing down. And I'm going to use a clip hold it in place so I know where it's got to go, and just run that through the sewing machine. There you go. Now I've put this piece on the right hand flap, so that will be going in there like that and then opening up, and I'd write on that. If you're doing this for a left-handed person, then I would suggest that you do it on one that has the flap on the left hand side, because it'll be easier for them to write. And I say that because my daughter is left-handed, so I'm always thinking about how a left-handed person might use something versus a right-handed person. But that has worked really well, and it's super simple. Now I've got this little booklet already in there, so when I sew my signatures together, I will have that in there all ready to write on. So that's the second page. I'll just put them together, see what they look like. Yeah, that's pretty good. If you want them the other way, you could fold them the other way, because they'd still be up the right way. It just means that the flap changes sides. I quite like those bees on that side, but if I move that one, I'm going to probably move another one as well. I might move this one, I think. Yeah, so I do want the same number on either side, so I'll move that one because I like the bees on the outside. And what am I going to do with this one? Let's see. What I've got with this one is a piece of paper which is the leftover piece, and it's the same size as this piece here. It's 3 inches. So I thought I might put it in here and create a little pocket. I'll have to chop it off, but then that would be a pocket that opens out this way. So rather than doing it like the other one I did, I've got a different look because it's opening out, not in. Now, if you did not want to use your ruler to measure, don't forget that you can just put it in half and create a little mark there, and then put your notch in at that mark. And again, I could glue this on, but I'm going to go to the sewing machine and actually sew that down on 3 sides. I've used a zigzag stitch this time to sew all those down. And that will go in there. Okay, so we've got 2 pockets and they're slightly different. And we've got our little thing like that. Now, what are we going to do with the next one? So this one, yes, goes up this way. I'm just checking the direction that it goes. And I think with this one, I'm going to sew it again, but I'm actually going to cut it so that I have a long pocket. So I'm just going to mark where I want to cut it so you can see before I take it to the sewing machine and the cutter. So I'm going to cut it down there, and then I'm just going to sew these from there down and across the bottom. So I've got a long pocket because I've got something I believe that was going to fit in there, something that I've made before. That one. Now with this one here, I'm going to create 2 pockets, I think. So I'm going to come around about to the halfway point, which should be about here. And I'm going to do that diagonal thing again. But I'm also going to draw on there because that's going to be 1 pocket down here. And then I'm just going to take that diagonal and run that up. Try that again. Try and keep it in a similar angle. And run that up there. And that will come off there. So I'm going to have a pocket here and a pocket here. Because I'm going to cut that out, I'm just doing it by hand rather than putting it through the paper trimmer. And I will need to straighten that up a little bit at the end. Now with this one here, I really like that picture, but I'm going to put it to the outside this time, not the inside like I did before. And I think I'm just going to do 1 pocket in there because I think that this is going to be my front page. I wouldn't do a pocket in there, although it might be hard to get things in and out, but I'm going to make this the front page. So because it's the front page, I can get away with having that on the outside as a pocket on the outside. And I'll sew that in a moment. And I've got 2 more. I've got these 2 here, which are my plain cardstock pieces. I'm just wondering whether or not I will do pockets on them as well. Just tossing up whether that would be the way to go. I think I'm going to do this one on the outside, although I don't know if I'm going to be able to get into it. I suppose I can, yeah, I'll put this one on the outside as well. And I'm also thinking whether I do two pockets here rather than just one long one to slip something in. Although a long one to slip something in would be really useful, I think that I can get away with doing one pocket, yeah, okay. And then here, I'm just going to straighten this up because when I scored that, I've kind of, or maybe it's when I cut it, I haven't quite got it where I want it to be, so I'm just going to rescore that. Okay, and then with these pieces here, I'm going to make some pockets on the side, so ones that can go in here. Yep. And then on this side, I might put a piece on here too, so you've got a pocket. So this is going to have plenty of pockets, plenty of places to put lists, tuck lists into, and plenty of space for writing. So I'm going to take this one and this to the machine and sew some stuff on. I've sewn this pocket down. I've also sewn one down on the other piece of plain cardstock. But what I wanted to do now with this one is I'm going to take a piece of the patterned cardstock, for example this, and I'm going to put it across here. So I'm going to create like a double pocket here, one here and one here. I didn't actually put a notch in this one at the time, but I will do that now. It's still got enough room for me to tuck the punch in. Create that notch, and when I do this, I need to cut that little bit there off because it's going to be too long. I'm not sure if that's the right colour paper or not. I think something with a little bit more contrast would look good. This one here, I'm going to create the double pocket there. Sometimes when you sew, especially paper, things get all caught up, and that's what's happened here, and I've got a whole bunch of loose thread that I need to now cut off. Luckily, cutting it off is pretty easy. If that happens to you, don't worry, just chop it off and do it again. You probably have to fix up your bobbin though, but I guess if you're a sewer you'd know that already because it happens when you sew fabric as well. Certainly not as frequently. So I have to sew the rest of that pocket down, but there's my double pocket. And I think I'll come back tomorrow or another day and finish this up. Yeah, probably tomorrow I'll get back on and finish this up because I just need to fix up the sewing machine, and I will see you then. This is Deborah. Thanks for watching. Cheers.